By invitation. How Donald Trump might challenge the 2026 election results. Jack Goldsmith and Bob Bauer, government lawyers under George W. Bush and Barack Obama respectively, explain. On November 3, 2026 Americans will vote in midterm elections to determine control of Congress. Republicans hold a narrow majority in the House and a firmer grip on the Senate. The House race thus offers Democrats their best shot at putting some brakes on the Trump juggernaut. The midterms will unfold amid long-held public distrust of the electoral process, distrust that Donald Trump has been actively stoking. More ominously, under the banner of defending honest elections, he appears to be laying the groundwork to challenge and possibly manipulate them. His words and actions strongly suggest he may use the formidable powers of the presidency, and possibly even the armed forces, to resist 2026 electoral results he dislikes. Mr. Trump has long framed any electoral loss as proof of opponents' fraud. He engaged in unprecedented efforts at the end of his first presidential term to alter the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. His charges have weakened the once bipartisan consensus that election administration should be insulated from politics. In 2026, as in past elections, both parties can be expected to mount coordinated legal challenges in races they seem to be losing by alleging error, fraud, or other irregularities, demanding recounts and contesting results in the courts. Yet such struggles could enter a whole new dimension owing to Mr. Trump's apparent readiness to use the redoubtable powers of the presidency to deny election results. Given the enormous stakes and his record of pushing every advantage at the legal margins and beyond, this prospect must be taken seriously. At the core of Mr. Trump's plan is the heretical idea that, as he proclaimed on Truth Social, the states must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them, for the good of our country, to do. This flies in the face of the Constitution, which expressly allocates authority over the times, places, and manner of congressional elections to the states and to Congress, but makes no mention of a role for the President. Yet Mr. Trump has issued an executive order that claims presidential authority to impose on states his own view of the needed voting rules, including proof of citizenship, revised machine standards, and limits on mail ballot counting. Perhaps the gravest worry is that Trump will deploy the armed forces under the Insurrection Act. The order has been challenged in court, but the issues are not finally resolved. Backing up this legal infrastructure is what Mr. Trump says is a whole-of-government effort to ensure that we never let what happened in the 2020 election happen again. He recently said that everybody is working on it, including the director of the FBI and the director of national intelligence. He has also put election deniers in key posts. With this legal infrastructure and team in place, Mr. Trump could order many kinds of federal intervention. As he did in 2020, but with a stronger hand, he could push officials to intervene in states, potentially seizing voting machines. He could use federal agencies to demand that states cooperate with his administration's efforts to detect election fraud. He could intimidate election officials by ordering investigations of claimed irregularities. But perhaps the gravest worry is that Trump will deploy the armed forces under the Insurrection Act. It authorizes the president to use such forces to take such measures as he considers necessary to suppress any unlawful combination or conspiracy that opposes or obstructs the execution of the laws of the United States. Mr. Trump could claim his opponents are obstructing election laws and call in troops to enforce those laws in accordance with his wishes. Such deployments could occur before, during, or after voting begins. Much of the Trump plan outlined here would be either unlawful or legally controversial. The courts, including the Supreme Court, performed admirably to blunt Mr. Trump's legally deficient challenges to the 2020 presidential election. But political strong-arming and investigative tactics that aim to intimidate are hard to challenge in court. The integrity of the 2026 election could thus, as in 2020, also depend on the fortitude of state and local officials who administer elections. And it would depend, ultimately, on how the American people react. A broad, highly visible public reaction could influence elected officials within Mr. Trump's party as they weigh the risks of complicity in any effort to subvert election results. In the darkest scenarios, such as the deployment of troops to jurisdictions where Republicans lose, the degree of responsible civic resistance could determine whether the nation's voting institutions hold firm.